first deck I'm going to show you here is extremely popular. A lot of people are using it right now, and it's centered around Buzzwole. Now, actually, Buzzwole was kind of underrated when it first dropped in the trailer, but people have learned to love it. The only reason they thought it would be bad is because of its Big Beat attack. It does 120 damage for 3 energy, but you cannot use Big Beat again the next turn. But it's very easy to get around that. We actually have Celesteela, which knows Ultra Thrusters. It's an ability that allows you to swap your active Ultra Beast for one of your bench ones. So just activate that. Swap Buzzwole for Pheromosa, which is our other early game grass Pokemon. It has a 1 retreat cost, so you just retreat it back into Buzzwole, and then that easily gets around the Big Beat downside. So that's really good. And again, Pheromosa early game is insane. It's a strong new grass Pokemon, which has a 1 energy attack, deals 20 damage to your opponent's active and then 20 to their bench. So let me just give you an example of how this works. You damage their active Giratina, and then you damage their bench Darkrai. And because this deck is running 2 Cyruses, you can easily just Cyrus, bring out Darkrai, and one-shot it with Buzzwole. You know, a Darkrai is weak to grass, so even if they cape, Buzzwole is still going to one-shot it. Also, we have Leaf Cape in here, which is just, grass is just so much insane support for the whole archetype. Leaf Cape gives you plus 30, which means Buzzwole is going to be at 170 HP, really strong. Plus we have Erica 2 to heal up, and we're actually only running 1 Lusamine, or that's what people are running, because it's actually fairly easy to just build Buzzwole on your bench, just place energy on them. So you really only need 1 Lusamine for later in the game, but this deck has good early game and good late game, a lot of sustain too. It's just very strong overall. Plus these are all basics, which means we're only running 6 Pokemon total. So we have a ton of space in here for 2 Cyruses, you know, Repel, Guzma, Mars. It's just a very solid deck overall, and I expect it to do very well in the future and in this format. Now there is the deck that I think is better. There might be 2 that are actually better. The best deck in the format I'm going to show at the end of today's video, but one of my favorites that I've been playing with recently is actually Guzlord with Nihilego. This is super strong. Again, this is a deck that only runs basics, so you only have 6 Pokemon in here. You have tons of space for everything else. But if you don't know what Guzlord does, it has 170 HP. It's a basic, which is great. And it knows Grindcore, 2 energy, 30 damage, and you flip a coin. For every heads you flip until you flip tails, you discarded energy. So Grindcore by itself can be a game-ending move if you get lucky. It also knows Tyrannical Hull, 4 energy, 120 damage. Now, this deck actually hasn't been really used that much in tournaments, so we don't have great results. But I think for how much it's been used, it has a pretty high win rate, like 60%. So as more people pull this card and experiment with it, I think it's going to get better and better. But yeah, Tyrannical Hull sounds expensive, 120 damage, 4 energy. It's not too bad because Lusamine, the new supporter, brings back 2 discarded energy onto one of your Ultra Beasts. So you want to start the game with Nihilego. It has a great poison ability, boost all your poison damage by plus 10. It also knows New Wave, which does 30 and poisons them, costing 2 energy. So you do a ton of early game damage with it. It gets destroyed. You go into Guzlord, activate Lusamine, and then use Tyrannical Hull right away. We're also running Celesteela, of course. You want to slap this in like every Ultra Beast deck because it just gives you like a free retreat once per turn. It's really good with Guzlord because Guzlord has a very high retreat cost. So if you start with it in the active, sometimes you want to Ultra Thruster back into Nihilego, and then, you know, just do your early game damage. We're also running 2 Poison Barb because with the new more poison ability, Poison Barb is just going to do 20 damage per turn. It's even better than Rocky Helmet if you have 1 Nihilego on your bench, or if you have 2, it does even more. Also, we're running one of the new Beast type cards because Guzlord you're going to be bringing in later in the game after hopefully you scored at least a point. And Beast type gives you plus 10 damage every time you attack per point that you have, so you can do 140 damage with Tyrannical Hull. So this is a very strong deck. I expect it to get better as more people try it out and test different variations. The next deck here is everyone's favorite. It's Darktina. Darktina got even better. It's performing really well right now. I think it's always going to keep up with the meta because it's just so adaptable because you're only running 4 basics that you need to play, which is 2 Darkrai, 2 Giratina. Now they're throwing in Nihilego because this guy, you know, it has more poison ability. So that means you can throw Poison Barb on Darkrai or Giratina, and then every time they attack him, they're just going to take 20 damage when they end their turn. And, you know, if they don't retreat and put something else in, they're going to take even more poison damage, which is great. And Nihilego is actually good for dealing with Oricorio. Oricorio, it shuts it down. You know, it does enough damage with the poison and everything, and Darkrai tick damage that Oricorio is not going to stand a chance. So Darkrai, Giratina got even better. I feel like I say this every single update, but there's always something in there to help them out so they can adapt to the current meta. It's cool to see Repel being used a lot. I wasn't sold on it, but as the meta develops and if we see more basics being run in every deck, then Repel's obviously going to be very good because it swaps a basic from your active to the bench. So Repel is going to be used depending on how the meta is developing, but this is, if you still want to play Dark Tina, this is probably the way. Next up, we have my current favorite deck, and it actually might be the strongest in the game. It just won the largest tournament we've had since the new pack dropped, which it placed first out of 400, which is, crazy, and it has a ton of other placements already. It seems extremely strong, and that's because Sylvie is very consistent. This is a card that's a stage 1. You can know it can attack with Brave Buddies, 2 energy, 50 damage, and if you activate a supporter in the same turn, that's 2 energy for 100 damage, which is really great. And you're guaranteed to start with type Null because we're also running a fossil line with Rampardos. So you always start with type Null, and it has a supporter, Gladian, which allows you to search for a type Null or a Sylvie from your deck. So that means it's very hyper consistent. You have a searcher supporter specifically set up for this deck. You start with type Null. The next turn you use Gladian, search for a Sylvie, evolve, and then since you used a supporter in the same turn, you're able to just instantly do 100 damage. Sometimes you don't even need to go into Rampardos to win. Also, we're not running any EXs in here, so that means your opponent has to destroy 3 different Pokemon in order to win. So they have to go through probably 2 Sylvies and a Rampardos, which is very hard to do. This deck is also just super consistent because of the supporters. You don't even need to run Pokeball. You can run 1, I guess, to search for another type Null. In my build, I don't run 1, but this deck just placed first, so who am I to say? But yeah, very consistent, very fast, good damage output. Try this deck out for yourself. I think it's the best in the game right now. Anyways, that's today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Hit the like button, subscribe, and I'll see you tomorrow.